Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis, and I'm going to be going through a bit of a series here over the next number of weeks. We're going to be talking about Hive, the CMS, and we're going to go through two different series. This one is the user learning series, and in today's topic, we're going to be understanding a bit more about how to search for content, going all the way from very simple searches through a bit more advanced searches. And you can use any of this you need throughout the day to make your Hive searching experience a bit easier. So first, let's talk a little bit about why we're covering this. I mean, anytime we're working in any kind of environment, it's important to be able to search and find whatever it is we're looking for. Whether it's in some kind of a CMS or in Windows Explorer or whatever, sometimes this ability to search can feel a little bit daunting. It's a little troublesome. Sometimes there's secrets you have to know. Sometimes, there's a lot of different things here. So our goal is to kind of demystify this so that you don't have to have some kind of secret decoder ring out of the cereal box or some special skull key, that you found in some D&D mission, like whatever, right? The goal here is to make this easy for you to be able to leverage Hive, and so you can understand exactly how searching works. Again, we're going to demystify this going all the way from very simple searches all the way to the very end, so you can use anything in between to understand exactly how this is going to work. We're going to talk about a few things: simple searching, filtering to optimize some search results. We're going to use some special search commands to better and further filter. And we're also going to talk about saving and using those saved searches. And we're specifically going to talk about it in this order here. I'm going to start at the very simple, just basic, simple searches. I'm going to talk about refining that with filtering. For things that you do commonly over and over and over again, we're going to save those searches. And then we're going to talk about how to use those saved searches and a little bit about how to manage them. And then we're going to dig a little bit deeper and go into an advanced search. Now, as always, throughout CTC webinars, we record these, so this will be available for your viewing, use later if you want to review how these searches work. But also, as always, we like to interact with you. So at the very end, there will be a live Q&A session, a questions and answers period, and I'll hang out for quite a while with that as long as there's questions coming in to answer more about this topic or potentially any topic. Yeah, feel free to also throw questions in while I'm talking, and I'll try to answer some of those questions live if it's relevant to the topic that we're on at the moment. So feel free to interact with us. This is designed to be an interactive session. So the recording is good, but here being live in the user series, I think will be very beneficial for everyone. So with that, I want to go live into the Hive product and talk about this in the user interface. I'm not big on death by PowerPoint here, so I'm going to pull Hive the CMS forward. I'm actually going to pin this to the foreground, and we're going to leave the PowerPoint up in the background to kind of guide us through where we're talking about these different topics here. So we're going to start with the concept of simple searches, the most basic of the basic search. So here in Hive itself, right at the top, when you first sign in, you're in the base user interface, whether you're in this in AutoCAD or whether you're using it with Revit or just in Windows. I don't even have any of those design applications open today because I'm not going to use anything out of Hive. We're just talking about how to find stuff. But it doesn't really matter where you're using this. This search will always be on the top of the page, and all of these controls will always be at your fingertips. So if I'm going to look for something with a simple search, you quite literally just type in whatever it is you're looking for. So maybe what I'm looking for here is a single door. I'll be using this example throughout. I'll be using doors since we can all relate to doors. We walk through them every day. We work with them all the time. They're in our houses. So I'm going to use doors as my example. I'm not trying to cut out any mechanical or electrical or structural, users, civil users. The goal here is just that we have something we can all kind of commonly talk about and some attributes that we're all familiar with. So if I type in something like single door and I hit enter, Hive is going to run a search for the single door. Just straight up, it's going to run the search. And by default, when you first are using Hive, it probably is going to look a lot like this. There won't be the filters pane opened up, and we'll talk about the filters pane in a minute. But when I run this search, it finds me anything that somehow matches single door. The more relevant it is, the further to the top it floats. That's a simple search. You can run this for anything. If I wanted to have something like light lighting fixtures, whatever, I can type that in and it runs that search and it'll find me items that somehow match lighting fixtures anywhere across my libraries, across the board. Maybe I wanted to find a specific manufacturer of a piece of content. Maybe I type in Titus and we just kind of see what shows up here. It brings me things that somehow match Titus. Whether it's in the file name or not, it will find it for me and it will surface that and let me use this wherever I need it. Maybe I'm looking for a hydrant. Maybe I can type that in, see what shows up. I got some fire hydrants here. Nothing super spectacular, but I have some items that I can leverage, right? Simple. Just typing in whatever you're looking for here at the top is important. And it'll remember some of my previous searches here, you'll notice. So if you do something commonly and you're like, well, I want single doors again, instead of having to type it all out, you can simply just, click in the top little bar and choose that previous search and it will rerun that search again. So that's pretty straightforward, I think. So that's a simple search. You type in what you're looking for and Hive will retrieve you items that match that. Now let's talk a little bit more about the next topic, which is filtering here. Sometimes when I run a search, I might get more than I wanted. And I might be like, well, I'm looking for a single door, and for whatever reason, this cabinet shows up, this piece of casework. It's not really what I'm looking for. There's other pieces of casework that show up. And also you notice here that this loaded 50 items from my preferences, but it found a total of about 423 items. And so if I scroll down, this is going to start loading more items into the interface. And some of these things may or may not make sense. Like there's this single rabbit section, probably a detail item that relates to doors, but because it has door and it has single in the name or someplace in its properties, it's going to show me this item. And there's also going to be things like door tags, because this search up here looks for anything that matches single door or single or door. The more vague you make this, the more items you're going to find, right? If I just typed in door, for example, this is going to find me a number of items, way too many, more than I really want. And it's not really going to be very refined, because as I start to scroll down, again, it's going to load some more items and it's going to give me more things, and more of that is going to become probably less and less relevant as time goes on. So my goal here is to refine this further, because this text search is just looking at properties of the file, the name, the types, if this is Revit, the parameter values. If this is AutoCAD with blocks, it's going to look at dynamic attribute properties and things like that, and return you results that match whatever the search string is. So let's talk now about true filtering here. If I go into filters, I can hit the little filters button here at the top, and by default, this filters pane will pop out and kind of cover some things up. And as you click away, it will go away. So if I go grab a piece of content, the filters disappear. My personal preference is to always use filters. And so the way that I have my Hive user environment set up here is I pin filters open. And I'm going to have this open now for the rest of the discussion in this little demonstration here, because I use filters all the time. 100% of the time, I'm using filters. And I do this because, say I wanted a single door. Well, in my case, in my mind, I'm thinking Revit at this point. And I know that what I really want is the door category of Revit, and I want items that match single. So here we've got a single door, we've got a single door. Later on, there might be some casework like this guy. I don't want this. This makes no sense to me to have in my results. So, and there's detail items, and I don't really want that either. I'm trying to do some design right now. I want model objects. And so my goal here is to get it down to just true Revit doors. So if I go here to Revit categories in my filters, and I can filter this list down even, I can type in door here, and if I choose doors, then I can also go up here to the top and then just put in single. So I could have searched single as what I was looking for, and that would have given me a lot of things. Single swing, check valves, single casework, all kinds of single stuff. But now if I refine this and I go to my door categories here for doors, let's just hit apply. This is going to now run a search for anything in my environment that matches single and is of the doors category. And this might find me single things outside of Revit. You may have noticed down here, if I scroll down, there's actually an Arrows Imperial DWG block that has single as one of its attribute properties. And because this isn't Revit content, it's not being filtered out with doors. Now, one of the other filters that I will often do is I will also check only Revit content, so it just gives me back that kind of content. Similarly, here in my AutoCAD filters, I can do AutoCAD category type filters here for blocks, for sheets, for scripts, for things like that. And I can also force it to be only AutoCAD content if that's what I was looking for. So there are options there as well. But here in this case, if I reapply my search, reapply my filter, this finds me 32 objects. It loads all 32 objects because I have my settings set to load 50 at a time. But now I'm getting exclusively door category objects. Instead of me typing door here and getting other categories that matched door, I'm exclusively getting this category. I'm exclusively getting Revit content, and I'm finding anything now that matches single. So this is a far more specific search, and it really helps me refine my results and get to what I want far, far faster, okay? So that's filtering, and you can use this across the board for a lot of different things. Maybe I only want to look for certain things in a certain library. Like in my case, I want to use the out-of-the-box English US Imperial Library that I have at my fingertips, and I only want to find doors in there, and I only want to find things that match single. Now, my result set here is going to get even more refined because it's only going to find me these items now that are ADSKENU, which is the naming convention used for all content in this library, and it won't find me any of the other items. So before, where I had 30-something items, I now only have 24. So again, this is giving me a more refined list, very focused on exactly what it was I was asking for. So that's pretty key. That's pretty key. So that's filtering, and again, you can use this a lot. Now, the next topic here is let's find a way of making these filters a bit more efficient. Let's talk a little bit about saved searches, saving them and reusing those saved searches. So I find myself, while I'm designing throughout the day, commonly looking for single doors in a specific library. And so instead of me clearing out my search and doing something else and then having to come back and type in single and reset my library filter and reset my Revit categories filter and reset my only Revit content filter every single time I want to do that, since this is something that I do all the time, repeatedly, maybe what I do is I have a saved search that looks for all doors that's Revit content in a specific library. So if I put asterisk up here, that will be everything. Now, this isn't just a single search because I often search double or single or sliding or a lot of different things. And so this will give me all 54 items that are found total, 50 loaded in my interface right now. But if I just save this, it'll save me from clicking here and choosing the one item and then clicking away, clicking this, and then dropping this down and filtering for doors or scrolling a bit and choosing that. That just a little bit of refinement here can save me quite a bit of time throughout the day if I do this repetitively. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. There's this little save search icon right here, little floppy disk from the days of old. If I hit this, I can make a brand new save search. Since I don't have a single search for US Imperial doors, I can name this. So I'm going to call this US IMP. I'm just going to abbreviate that for myself, doors. Okay, I'll just do that. Now, for those of you who are administrators looking at this, you can actually share this with the organization. Those of us who aren't administrator users, this icon or this option won't show up for you because you won't have the ability to share it. That's okay. It's still going to save it, and you can still use it yourself. As far as the description goes, there's times when I like to better describe this, especially if I have something a bit more complex here in my search string, something we'll get to a little bit later on. But for now, if I just save this, then I'm going to have a US Imperial doors saved search ready for me at my fingertips the next time that I want to run this exact same search again. This normally takes a lot less time. I'm going to move this to a different screen for now, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about this. Now, once I have saved that search, I can use it whenever I want to. So I can go here to my saved searches list, and the US Imp Doors search right here looks like I have another one out of the box. US Imperial Doors looks like I did save that once before, and it's actually shared with the whole organization at this point. But we'll use the one that we just saved today, US Imperial Doors. When I choose this, you won't see really anything change other than maybe a flicker of the tiles here because it reran the exact same search. It searched for everything that was in this library that's Revit content that's doors. Let's clear this out and run a different search and then come back and reuse that. So I can clear my filters from here, or I can clear my filters from here. It doesn't really matter. Either one will work. And if I clear that, it's going to run a search of everything. In my case, returning 7,400 items approximately. It loaded the first 50 that it found that were commonly used. So, there's a lot of items in here. But really, what I might want to do now is maybe search for something else. Let's search for like type A and see what shows up. Okay, I'm getting dry type transformers. I'm getting wall types here in the case of Revit. I might be getting other details or other schedules or you name it. There's a lot of trash that shows up in my list because it's kind of a generic general search. But now all of a sudden I find myself wanting my doors again. Well, instead of me manually going and clearing my filters and then setting this all back up, I can simply drop down my list and choose US Imperial Doors. It'll rerun the search for everything in that library for Revit content for the categorized objects categorized as doors. So that now has made that first step quite a bit faster. And now if I wanted to search for something like swing, it'll find me all swing doors. There aren't any. That's great. Let's search for passage doors. Yeah, there's a bunch of those. So these are technically swing doors, just a different terminology. So maybe I wanted sliding, right? I can run that search, and this is looking now exclusively for, all those items in that library, and it's pre-filtering it down, so it's significantly faster at this point for me to get to the results that I want. I'm not needing to scroll down through, hundreds of objects. That's pretty meaningful. All right, that's saved searches, and that's using your saved searches. Now, let me show you another way of using the saved searches. And this is kind of a way that I personally like to do this. I don't know why, like this drop-down list works just fine, but over time, this drop-down list will get pretty long if you're saving yourself a lot of searches. Now, if you're consistent with your own naming convention, or if your company is, it can be nice to be able to filter this list down a little bit to get to a pre-set up saved search. Let's show you how you can do that really quickly. If you go back here to the Home tab, to the Home option here on the left, you'll notice that there are some tiles up here, and one of the tiles is Saved Searches. In the Saved Searches tile, you'll actually see a list of all of your saved searches alphabetically sorted, and right there is my US Imperial Doors. Now, if I wanted to filter this down, there's a couple of them that have doors in the name. If I just start typing door here on this little search filter right there, it'll show me CTC Doors, that's my corporate doors, and I can search for that, and it'll run a search for everything that's in a different library that's Revit content that's doors. That's pretty fantastic. If I go back to that Home tab, I could choose the out-of-the-box US Imperial Doors. It runs a search for everything in that library that's the Revit categories of doors. And so if I'm doing this kind of thing commonly, I might have a collection of saved searches that I can use. Maybe I have medical design, or maybe I've got, residential design, and I've got certain searches that I use commonly. If I name them that way, I can have them just sitting right here, the 10 or 15 or so searches that I use regularly, and I can get a lot of my filtration preset super fast. And that saves me time. I don't have to dig much deeper than a very simple search string and some very basic search filters over here that are pre-canned and ready for me to use. So save searches. Very important. Now let's go just a little bit deeper. We're going to go a bit more advanced here. And so I want to take a look at some advanced search abilities. We did talk a little bit earlier when I was introducing this about needing to know some like secret decoder ring or special, skeleton key kind of whatever things. But In every app in the world, there are ways you can go a bit more advanced. And to do that, you have to know a thing or two. These exact search tips that I'm going to show you, it's not unique to the Hive. This isn't just a Hive thing. This also directly applies to Google. It directly applies in some cases to Windows. There's other places you can use this kind of search technique. So this isn't like it's super secret and hidden in the depths of Hive and its own help documentation. It's used commonly throughout the world. So this is why I want to show this to you, because this can help you refine just a bit more. I'm going to use this initially with no filtration on, so we can see what happens when I do this kind of search. There's really 3 things that I recommend you add to your repertoire of search string controls. I'm going to go back and use a wall search again here that I used a moment ago, right? I'm going to put in type A. When I searched this, if you recall, there was a bunch of items here, 662 items found that somehow match type A. And I want to be clear about what this is doing. It's searching type A and it's finding things, but it's also searching the word type, and it's also searching the letter A at this point. And the more items I get, that's why I'm getting 662, because a lot of things probably have A in them somehow, right? And the word type here is going to be scattered across all kinds of things, right? There's section A roof purlin. That's why this one showed up. There's a dry type transformer with a NEMA type 1, whatever. So a lot of items here in this list. But let's refine this just a little bit. Notice what I'm looking for. I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for walls that are type A named. And they did show up on my first page. All of my walls that I wanted here showed up on my very first page. I didn't have to scroll at all. So I don't have to do this technique, but there are times when doing this will be helpful. So let's see what happens if I do. I'm just going to surround this with quotation marks. This makes my search explicitly find things that are type A. It won't search also for type. It won't search also for A. It looks for exactly type A, and it will give me those items back. So that really refined my search results from 600 something down to 6 with just a simple quotation mark. Now here's the deal about this type of search. If your names have even a slight variation, it won't find the all other objects that are similar. Without the quotes, it finds all things that are similar, and that can be meaningful. But when it's just too much, sometimes it makes sense to refine that. And this is being done without any kind of filters over here to the right. I didn't have to go in my Revit categories list and scroll all the way to the bottom and find walls and choose that first. I don't have to do that. I can just do type A. Now, there are times when maybe that refinement is okay, right? We saw this with the doors I searched earlier, but let me do this with walls now. Type A, type A, doesn't matter. Caps or smalls are irrelevant, but let's just say I go over here and I do choose walls and I hit apply. This is going to run a search for all things that are type A that are also walls. And because the word type is in that search and I did not limit this to just Revit content, I'm also finding other files that might somehow match that, and that might not be desirable. So maybe I only want Revit content, one extra filter, hit apply, and now I've got 50 exact items found that are all walls, truly walls, only Revit objects that somehow match type or A, right? That's a way to search. But let's go to the next level with this. I'm going to clear this again because we've already talked about filters, and I want to show you how you can do another kind of search here with this beyond just filters. So let's go back to this and let's use doors one more time as the example now. Let's say I'm looking for anything that's door single. Okay, we did that search earlier as well, and we remember that this came up with some casework, and it came up with some passage objects, and it came up with a number of other items inside of here. That's all good. There's interiors, there's other stuff. Maybe really all I want is door single and sliding, but I want all of them, but I don't know the order in which it shows up. Here it's door sliding single. So I can't just go, quote door single sliding, because that won't necessarily give me what I'm looking for. Maybe it will. Yeah, this gave me nothing because nothing in my library exactly matches door, single, sliding. But I want things that match door and single and sliding. I want all of those items. So how can we do that? How can we force this to give me those types of things? Well, that's pretty easy. If you put pluses in front of words that you want to guarantee it finds, find me door and single and sliding, I can do this and it will find me all of the items that somehow match this. So this is a single door with sliding drawers. So sliding was in the name, so it found it. There's a door sliding, and this is actually probably has single in the name someplace, but this is an ICS detention door. There's also a single patient door that probably has single someplace in the type properties of this object. But I can force this to give me back just those items. And again, I didn't have to go do any categorical filters or only Revit stuff. I'm able to use this pretty quickly, pretty easily. Well, maybe let's say I want to expand this just a little bit. Let me rearrange this just so it's maybe a little bit easier to see this happen. I want door and sliding, and I want to have single or double. Single or double, I want both. How do I do that? Well, if you go like this, if you go in parenthesis here, I can put single, space, double. In parentheses, please. Thank you. There we go. So it's going to look for, and maybe if I put plus here, this will, oh, I have insert hit. That's probably why this is doing the goofy typingness. There we go. Door has to have door, has to have sliding, and it has to have either single or double. When you put a space, it turns that it kind of into an or, unless it was in quotation marks. If you want to kind of further define that, you can use what's called a pipe sign. It's the key just above the enter key, looks like a vertical bar like this. Some people prefer this because it's easier for them to read, but it doesn't matter if you use the bar or use a space. It's going to do the same thing either way. This will find me everything that's door, sliding, and single or double, and I get slightly more results here. So I've got door, single, and sliding. They're all three in this search result. I've got door, double, and sliding in this result. And the order doesn't matter, but it found door, double, sliding. It found upper cabinet sliding door, double door, so it found this one, right? It found me all the things that I asked it for. Now, this didn't limit it to the doors category because I didn't put that filter on, but it is still finding me all of these items based on this criteria. So the three things that we talked about here that are meaningful: if you put something in quotes, type a quote, this little piece right here, that will be an explicit string search. If you want, you can do additional searches, pluses here, to guarantee that that is included in your search. And with those pluses, the third thing is the or. If you put something in parentheses here, you can search door plus sliding plus either single or double, and it will do that. Now, you can also do things with minuses here. You can subtract. So find me door sliding, but don't find me anything that has single or double in it. I can do, find me all doors that are not sliding, but that are single or double, right? There's a lot of things you can do with this to really help refine your searches as you run this, in this Hive environment. You don't have to do this, but it sure can help. And if you combine this with categorical filters, I could rip out these casework components if I truly was only looking for doors. So here, if I had run my out-of-the-box US Imperial doors and then I added this search string to it, I would truly find just the doors that I was looking for. In fact, I would probably find just these two doors right here. That would be all that would show up because of my search criteria, if I was to do that. All right, we've talked about advanced search. It's now time to jump into any questions that you might have about this search topic, or technically, for that matter, any Hive topic that you'd like to ask about. I will hang out here for a little while and see if I can answer any of your questions about today's topic. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting for any questions to show up, I'm going to go back to the Home tab, and I want to point something else out while you're typing your questions in, if you're typing any questions in. When you go to the Home tab and you choose Saved Searches, or any of the other tiles for that matter. It will remember where you were, and it will remember what you had filtered. So if I go back here and I go to libraries, it remembers that filter. I might have to clear that out, but I can do an immediate library filter through here as well. If I wanted to run all of my searches today on just the English US Imperial out of the box library, I can run that and it will actually set that as my filter directly from the home tab. So it's a quick shortcut to a filter. Similarly, I can go to the home tab, and if I back out of libraries, I could go into Revit categories. And here, if I wanted to exclusively search doors, I can start my search there. It'll run a search for everything in all libraries that is related to doors and only Revit content. It sets that filter automatically when I do it from that home tab. So it gives me that search real quick, and then I can begin my searching process from there. And if you keep going back to the home tab, maybe I next want to search out, I don't know, something like casework, I could choose that and it'll reset my categorical filter that way. That's a way some people prefer to do that. Instead of using the filters pane constantly, they'll go to the home tab and do their filtration from here. But this only allows one filter at a time. When you need complex or compound filtering, you need to be using the filters pane over here. And you really need to know what filters are set. So I do recommend that you pin the filters open so you can see that there's actually filters applied and what they are. And it gives you quick and easy access to say, well, only give me these objects from here when you run your filters. And then you can, further search for whatever inside of there. All right. Haven't seen any questions show up yet. I will show one more piece of information that's slightly more advanced, but I want to share it with you so you know where this is coming from. I'm going to clear this all out. I'm going to run one more search here. I'm going to search for Titus. I did this search earlier, and this found me some items. But I want to point something out about these searches. When you put searches here up in the search bar, it does not just search the file name. It actually searches inside the file, in this case, Revit content. And if I go into the details, there's another panel that can show up here. If I open up the details panel, and I'm working with this diffuser right here, inside of here, there are types, and it searches the type names for families. In the case of AutoCAD, it would search dynamic block options. If I click on one of these types, and I expand this out just a little bit here, it actually searches the parameters that are found in that family and all of its values. And now you'll notice why Titus came up here with results of things that didn't have this in the file name. If I filter this, Titus right here, you'll notice that branded throughout the properties and the parameters of this family is Titus all over the place. And so when I searched Titus here, it immediately went out and searched and went through all of my content, deep in the content, and found me those results and gave them back so I can consume this supply flow bar linear device, maybe drop in the FL30 3-inch slot aluminum diffuser and throw that into my project immediately and not have to know that it came from someplace inside. It just does that. It does that automatically for you. So it can save you quite a lot of time that way by auto digging in. But just understand when you are running these searches here, if I search for door, single and door, there might be some items that show up that you might be a little bit confused about. Why is this showing up? And perhaps just because of how the search was structured, like, let's just do this, single door here. As I run this search, notice 423 items found. And if I scroll down a ways, let's see if I can find something real quick that will kind of give this to me. There's doorbell. There's no single here, but then I didn't explicitly say it had to be single. There's door tags. There's door buzzer. Single fusible switch, single being a part of that search string right there. At some point, I might get something here that doesn't really have the word single or door in the name, and it might not immediately make sense as to why it shows up. I'm trying to find something real quick here. Oven single again, single sink, single-sided, parking island for some content there. Like, there's a lot of stuff here. But and I'm not really finding a good example because of my basic search having door. Here's a good one. Oh, no, there's single. Still has it. Door holder. I'm probably not going to find anything super quick here with this particular search because a lot of these things will have in the name that type of item, single again, or yeah. But again, it doesn't really make sense. If I see a number of items here, 423 items found, let me be real. I'm not going to scroll through 423 items. I'm going to refine my search so I get closer to what I want with fewer items. If I have more than 150 and it's not on my first page or two, I'm just going to, refine my search down. And I'm going to use all of the tools at my disposal, perhaps some more advanced search strings, and almost certainly some filtration over here, because it's just going to make my life easier. It'll take me less time to refine my search and get faster the results that I want, rather than scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and waiting for these pages to load. It just takes longer, and it will be better for me if I just refine my search and get rid of items that I don't need. All right, I have not seen any questions show up in the questions pane. So with that, I'm going to say thank you. As always, we appreciate when you show up to our webinars, and we encourage you to sign up for future user series Hive lessons that we're going to have pretty much every other week on Wednesday at noon Central. So pay attention to our events page on our CTC website, and we look forward to seeing you in there. But with that, I'll shut this down today and look forward to seeing you then, and look forward to you reviewing this as you improve your Hive usage. Have a fantastic day.